Welcome, friends. This is Under the Air Sports. I'm Eric,
And I'm David.
and today we're going to discuss the return of the border war. Before we begin, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and find us on Facebook and Instagram. David, the border war is back. Mizzou and Kansas at Allen Fieldhouse this Saturday. What are your thoughts on the border war being back?
Personally, I think it's good for Missouri, especially. Um, it's just another non-conference game that gives a jolt to the recruiting trail and the fan base. It's just another exciting game for the teams to play. Unfortunately, this season's been a rough season, so I'm not sure how many people are looking forward to actually watching the game. However, I am very happy for the fact that it is back. Um, I personally love to hate Kansas, and I know a lot of other people do. So, I mean, it's a true rivalry game that goes back something like 120 years. Um,
Well, well, I mean, you can talk about playing basketball that long. It goes back to the Civil War, really.
well, yeah, true,
Yeah.
true, but I
Uh,
mean, one of
but
the
yeah,
great
but to play
rivalries.
basketball, yeah.
Yeah, it's one of the great rivalries in college sports, especially on the basketball side of things. So, in that sense, I'm excited. I'd love to say anything can happen in a rivalry, but again, I just don't know what to say with this team this year. So, I'm just going to enjoy the fact that it's back and it's not on our home court and we don't have to witness it in our home court.
Yeah, there's two different ways to look at this, really. And the first one is that Kansas and Missouri playing is good for Missouri. It is good for Kansas. It is good for college sports, in this case, basketball. Uh, it's a shame it hasn't happened. I know there was the exhibition, and I want to say 2017, over at what was then the Sprint Center in Kansas City. But really, in basketball, this is the first time since the 2012 season. And it's a good thing in general. The second way to look at this is within the context of this season and the two teams this year. In that context, it's not very good for Missouri because, I mean, let's face it, Mizzou basketball is a big pile of trash right now. Uh, so it kind of leads me to the next point about this is the excitement. While there's some on the Missouri side about what this rivalry can be and it being back, Kansas is excited all the way around. You got one side that is super excited, and it's not Missouri.
Yeah, and I will say, I mean, as a fan, I enjoy having it back. Um, Kind of what you said, it's good all around for college sports because with all the conference shuffling and things like that, some of these rivalries got ruined. So bringing this one back and having it go for was it 6 years, I think, is what it's contracted to go for. Um, I think it's a really good thing for the sport in general, especially when a lot of these sports are losing fans, and some of it has to do with the corruption of the NCAA, and especially on the basketball side with all the corruption and recruiting going on. Kansas is involved in that, of course. Uh, Mizzou isn't, which is probably why they're in the state they're in right now.
Yeah.
Uh, but it's just good to have hate week back, if you want to call it that. I know a lot of Missouri fans call hate Kansas week, if you will. It's just good to go back to something that used to be the norm. Um, and again, a lot of fans are dreading the actual game, but I think overall it's good for both Mizzou and Kansas, as well as college basketball in general.
Yeah, and it's going to be different. Uh, Nobody on the Mizzou team, coaching staff, hardly anybody in the AD was around the last time Mizzou played Kansas in a regular game, regular season game, that is. So there's no one there aside from any former players or, if Norm Stewart comes snooping around the gym one day, there's no one there to really communicate just how intense the rivalry can be. And I think I think everybody from Mizzou at Allen Fieldhouse is kind of going to have their eyes opened to just how vicious the rivalry can be. Uh, and to a certain extent, next year, when the game's at Mizzou Arena, same thing will happen for Kansas fans or Kansas players rather, because they will have had a home game, but they've not. But then it'll be next year that they experience the real hate aspect of it when there's in theory 15,000 people there who want them to lose more than anything in the world, and just both sides having to go through that, it takes a little bit of the edge off of the rivalry for the players and the coaches probably, but for the fans, for all of us watching, I think it'll come back pretty quick. I spent the last what decade basically not hating Kansas as much, and this afternoon reading about how Kansas is so excited to have this game back when they are the only reason the game stopped happening. It made me mad, and it was fun to feel that again. I'm referencing the fact that when Mizzou left the SEC, Kansas said, "No, we're not going to play the game. You left the conference. That means you're leaving us." Whereas there are countless non-conference rivalries, even within the same Midwestern region. Nonsense on their part, but here we are. I don't know, David. What? There's not a whole lot of analysis needed for this game. Let's get that out of the way.
Well, it's going to be an eye-opener for our team in general because we've had like one or two players on the team who played in a Power 5 conference last year, a.k.a. Kobe Brown. They're going into what's going to be 15,000 fans just doing the same thing and willing their hate on Mizzou. So it's their first true road test, and I know they had their true road test against Liberty and got creamed, and they looked nervous and not ready for it. I expect it to be even more ugly against Kansas, but for our freshmen, it will be a good learning experience. I think it would be a good day if they kept it within 30, to be honest with you.
Yeah. I think this is going to be one where, Kansas is just going to say, well, we're better than you at basketball at every position. So we've got that in our pocket. And then they're just going to, just pack the lane and say, all right, fine. You shoot 24% from three as a team. Beat us at the 3-point line, and we'll adjust if you start hitting them. And Mizzou won't be able to do anything about it because no one on the team can shoot. And so combine that, just the talent disparity and the fact that they're going to go into an arena full of people who, claim for a decade that they are, they're over the rivalry and don't care. Meanwhile, there are people who are already camping out multiple days in advance of the game because they don't care. There's going to be that much emotion and 10 years of hate just directed right at those 5 guys on the court. So that's going to be an eye-opening experience for them. And then the best team Mizzou's played is what? Florida State, and they're not ranked. They're going to play number 8, Kansas. It's going to be far and away the best team they've played to date. And yeah, like you said, the result of the game is going to reflect that. It'll be an accomplishment, I think, if Mizzou's within 30. That's all there is to it.
Now, I will say, if Mizzou can get some players and develop the players that they have and put together a solid team in the next couple of years, this rivalry is going to be really fun, especially once it moves into what used to be the Sprint Center in Kansas City. It has the potential to be an annual thing, just like the Illinois bragging rights game. The potential playing in a neutral court in the middle of Kansas City, with the two sides that hate each other as much as they do, just as a fan, sounds like a fun, awesome environment.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to it. Anyway, that's all we have for this episode of Under the Arch Sports. Thank you for watching.